Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Bishop R.C. Blakes. R.C. is an author, empowerment teacher, and the proud pastor of the New Home Ministries of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas. His message circles the globe. His conversational and candid approach to challenging content makes him a relevant voice to all generations. Get ready for a life-changing transformational conversation.
Hello, family. Hello, family. Hello, family. Can I just jump right in? Can I just jump right in to what I want to actually talk about today? Why are we not finishing? Why are we leaving trails of incomplete projects, half-done agendas? Why are we leaving a trail of unfinished necessities behind us? May I suggest to you that the reason we are not finishing what we start is because most of us have not set ourselves up to finish. You know, people who are traditionally finishers have a certain psyche. It's a certain mindset that they live with, they live by, that makes finishing a habit. And if you flip that coin to the opposite side, quitting is also habitual, and it is also attached to a certain set of bad habits that allows us to procrastinate, allows us to leave things undone, unfinished. Quitters usually have a long trail of unmet demands and incomplete tasks behind them. Quitters are not necessarily, listen to this carefully, quitters are not necessarily without vision or ambition, but they are people who have not conquered the many issues that make them or allows them to quit. In fact, they are often most miserable about their lack of follow-through. Some of you are sitting in the room right now. It's not that you lack vision or ambition. You're sick about the fact that you don't follow through and you don't finish anything you put your hands to. And these people actually mourn their underachievement. They have the quitting habit. Well, I believe in the name of Jesus Christ that we are breaking the quitting habit today. If you look in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4, it says thereafter, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. A stronghold is a mental hang-up that hinders the individual from maximizing their full potential. And when we find ourselves not finishing, not following through, getting half done, settling, we have to understand that this is the product of a stronghold. It is the inability to follow through. It is a stronghold. It is a self-limiting mindset that prohibits you and I from full potential. Now, there are three common causes of stalling. Three common causes of stalling. Number one is incomplete vision, because a partial grasp on what you want to accomplish and need to do is never sufficient to drive you all the way through. Sometimes we've started before we've gotten the full picture. That's why Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. Notice, and I always like to bring this out, but notice the reference to tables, plural. This hints to the fact that your vision is extensive and comes in multiple stages. Sometimes you have an incomplete vision, and when you get to the end of one table or one tablet, you don't know where to go because your vision was never fully received. The second cause of stalling is poor planning. In other words, no timetable, just an idea without any structure or implementation strategy. And then the third cause of stalling is the premature leap to action. You jumped before you were actually ready, taking action before you've done your homework. If you look in Luke chapter 14, verses 28 through 30, it says, for which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest haply after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. So Jesus says here that a finisher sits down first. Finishers set themselves up to finish. And this text shows us what we need to do to overcome the habit of stalling. There is a work that should precede taking action. Look deep before you leap. I think it was Iyanla that said that, or maybe it was Judge Maybelline it was Judge Maybelline that always said, look deep before you leap. Because there's a work that should precede taking action towards a task if we really want to have what it will take to follow through. Because the thing that will hinder us if we don't do our homework and if we don't lay the foundation that I'm getting ready to establish for you, circumstances will stall us out. Because times are not going to always be easy. And then circumstances will lead to emotions. We get overly emotional about bad breaks or bad outcomes, and we lose ourselves in an emotional frenzy. But here's some things that must be in place if we are going to set ourselves up to finish. Number one, vision, and I've alluded to it already. If you're going to be a finisher, you're going to have to make certain that you have a full and complete vision. You see, vision starts as an idea to do something good. Now, there's a story that I read when I first taught this lesson, and here it reads like this. John is a young man that comes from a family of quitters. He's had no example of follow through to glean from. One day, John heard a man lecturing on the power of a vision. The man talked about how a real vision comes from within the heart of the individual, and it's something that complements the person's abilities and excites them. John prayed, and over a period of time, John recognized the vision for his life. John got so excited about his vision because he felt like he was finally on the path of purpose. The power of knowing where he wanted to go hurdled him over all of the limitations of his family's history. What he did not inherit from his family, his God-given, God-ordained purpose and vision provided. All success in life starts with an idea. The individual must determine if his idea is a true vision or just a passing ambition. An ambition is something that benefits you, and your motivation is usually selfish and short-lived when it comes down to your ambitions. But a vision is something that God gives you that benefits a community around you, and the motivation is sustained by passion and purpose. You see, a vision is something that will impact the lives of others. A vision is something that turns up the fires of your passion. A vision is an opportunity for your true purpose to be displayed. And a vision will bring a sense of fulfillment like nothing else in your life. So if you want to live a life that is a life, the life of a finisher, make certain that you are living your life for vision. Because some of you have lost the passion about the thing you started the year off with because it was just a mere ambition. You never really stopped, like John, to pray about, God, what is your vision for my life? What is your purpose for my life? When you find your vision will drive you through your disappointment. Your vision will drive you through your heartaches. Your vision will drive you through the betrayal of people. You have to find your vision, because many people quit because they don't have an authentic vision. Glory to God. When I think even about this church, New Home Ministries, Houston, there have been many days that have been very, very dark. And it was just the fact that I knew God gave me vision for this church. Excuse me. It drove me through my seasons of heartbreak and heartache. It drove me through my tearful nights, because vision drives us to finish. I love the way Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he. But watch this, the term perish in the Hebrew, it means to go back. Where there's no vision, the people go back. It means to loosen. It means to dismiss. It means to avoid. It means to set at naught. So the text may very well be paraphrased like this, where there is no internal purpose or focus or drive on a single God-given, purposeful, and passionate pursuit, the people will quit. Maybe some of the things that you've quit, maybe you needed to quit, because maybe they were never ordained of God from the beginning. Maybe what you need to do is take the next few days or couple of weeks to go back to the drawing board to seek God relative to what is the vision for your life. And make no mistake about it, the only one that can give you definitively what your vision is the Creator. Because people who follow through are driven by a cause greater than the moment. Their vision of what can be motivates consistency every day. So number one, if you're going to set your life up to finish, it must be a life driven by vision. Number two, feasibility. Now, this is when we talk about number two, feasibility. Finishers always understand feasibility. This is the reality check to determine if you are truly passionate about your goals. Do you possess what it will take to actually see it through? And most importantly, will it make a difference? Because it's hard to stay motivated about things that do not make a difference. This is why people, spend their lives thinking that money is the goal, and they get more money than they can spend. And then they realize that money does not provide any sense of fulfillment. And now they're so depressed they want to commit suicide. It's because anything that's going to wake you up in the morning and put you to bed at night and keep you driven decade after decade after decade to continuously finish must be something that matters, must be feasible. It has to make a difference. Julie is another one of my stories. Julie is a very ambitious young lady. She had a vision to open a restaurant. Julie went to San Francisco and fell in love with sushi. Julie decided that she would open a sushi restaurant in her hometown, which is in rural Mississippi. Julie is fortunate to have good parents and mentors who advised her honestly regarding her ideas. When she brought the idea before the people she trusts the most, none of them thought that it would be feasible to open a sushi restaurant in a country town. Julie was taken aback initially by the chorus of disapproval. She responded by doing a citywide survey in the town of 800 people. She was so surprised to discover that 90% of the citizens didn't even know what sushi was, and the 10% that knew what it was said they wouldn't eat it. Julie was thankful that she hadn't moved before checking feasibility. Today, Julie's dream of a restaurant is manifested. She's the successful owner of the Mississippi Rib Shack. I had to laugh at that one because it's funny. Feasibility. Sometimes you're beating a dead horse and you're wondering, why is it not moving? It's not feasible. The feasibility stage is when one must sit down and harness the excitement about the possibilities and ask the tough practical questions relative to the goal. Is it achievable? Is it practical? Is it likely to succeed? You see, many people get tough, practical questions confused with they're just haters. No. Sometimes the people that love you the most will ask you the tough, practical questions. And it's the tough, practical questions that will let you know what are good ideas versus, just things that you probably should move on beyond, but they don't. You may have a good idea, but you don't have what it takes to accomplish it. Or it's the wrong time or the wrong place to do what you're thinking about doing. Luke 14:31 and 32, it says, or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet great a way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. It wouldn't be feasible to go into that battle. Sometimes we're not finishing because it was not feasible from the start. The feasibility study ties the knowledge you need to the goal you have. The tragedy of pursuing goals that are not feasible is that we invest energy into futile efforts, which creates a history of failure, which produces fear of challenge and eventually an unwillingness to aspire in the future. And this ultimately creates complacency and stagnation. Now, number 3, if we're going to set ourselves up to finish, we got to start out at a place called vision. Then we must, even after vision, we must do some feasibility study, and then we must develop strategy. This is the planning stage. And this takes place only after you've determined that your goals are feasible. This is when you break your goal down into segments and you catch a mental grasp of how you'll accomplish it. Back to my stories. Joe is a car salesman. When Joe started working at his particular dealership, most people told him that he could not succeed because the economy was too bad and gas was too high. Joe declared that he would outsell every man on the lot. The weeks went by and Joe was consistently outperforming all salesmen. Finally, after many months of Joe's success, one of his co-workers asked how did he do it. Joe responded, "I get the price that the customer wants to buy at, and I attempt to get a lower price approved. 50% of the time, I get the price at or below what they first asked for without haggling. On top of that, I offer to give them $100 for gas out of my pocket." Joe said that his strategy was to make less consistently rather than making more every now and then. It was Joe's strategy. Every sustainable effort should be planned and strategized. When there is a strategy, you can always locate yourself when things get hectic. If you don't have a definitive plan, you don't have a point of reference whereby you may regroup when the unforeseen happens. Because a great mistake is to launch out on a good idea without a clear strategy and without a clear plan, and to assume that God will make it happen always by faith. We get involved many times in pursuits without a strategy, and then we expect God to bring it to pass. God works with our plan. You've not been able to finish nothing because you haven't strategized or planned anything, and you get out there and then you want to throw it up into God's lap, but God works with our plan. Listen to what the Bible says in Proverbs 16:9. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. Notice he says that a man's heart deviseth his way. The term deviseth is the Aramaic term meaning to weave or to fabricate or to plot or to contrive or to think, to regard, to value, to compute, to devise, to forecast. Watch this, to invent. The major price of the planning stage is to create timelines on goals, because if you leave it open, you'll fall into the pit of procrastination. And then watch this, number 4. I'm trying to hurry. Don't want to keep you too long. If we're going to set ourselves up to finish, we're going to have to move out on a vision. We're going to have to do some feasibility study. We're going to have a strategy or a plan. And then we're going to have to execute. Now, this is the action stage. This is when you've planned your work and now it's time to work your plan. Back to my story. Jane is a brilliant college grad. She's had a business plan in her briefcase that has been scrutinized by many brilliant business executives, and all said that the plan was foolproof. Jane was so scared that she sat on all of her talents and an excellent plan for years. One day, Jane shared her plan with a friend, and the friend took the initiative to kick Jane in the pants and hold her accountable for getting started. Once Jane started executing her excellent plan, she felt a sense of fulfillment that was unbelievable. All of her fears were replaced with joy and satisfaction. Once she started executing, she woke up every day eager to get started, and the success piled up. You see, execution takes place after you've done your introspection, done your feasibility check, developed a solid plan, and then you're ready to begin to put feet to your faith. A strategy is of no significance without execution. You can have the greatest vision and the greatest strategy. It can be the most feasible action you could possibly take, but if you never execute. James 2:20 says, "But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead?" The hardest part of following through is the actual work of executing and implementing your plan. Hardest part. There are a few common enemies to execution, and they are fear of failure, procrastination, laziness, and complacency. Let me give you some keys to executing. Letter A, train yourself to self-start. Stop always needing cheerleaders. Letter B, develop relationships of accountability. Don't have people around you that just let you lie down on yourself. Letter C, measure the progress of every day to have a real perspective. Every day, check in with yourself and measure the progress of that day. Letter D, focus on small incremental goals rather than the whole objective, and celebrate every small accomplishment. And then letter E, avoid people who kill your faith and distract your focus. Now, number 5, and finally for real, number 5, you got to finish. If you're going to set yourself up to finish, you're going to have to be driven by a vision. You're going to have to make certain that your actions are feasible. You're going to have to follow a well-planned strategy. Then you're going to have to execute that strategy. And then all that's left to do is to finish. This is the phase where you finish many small goals. You complete these many small tasks, and eventually you find yourself atop a major objective in a finished state. Jim, I got to give you my story. Jim always wanted to run 10 miles. He wouldn't always start, and his mind would make him quit at about 3 miles. Finally, a long distance runner taught him the secret. He told him to count every quarter mile as a finished task. Jim noticed that every quarter mile he gained renewed motivation and strength. Before he knew it, he was halfway to his goal. After the sixth mile, his mind had developed the habit of finishing, and he finished the 10th mile stronger than he started the first. As you bring to fulfillment many subtasks, you create a history of finishing in your psyche. This replaces the stronghold of quitting and stalling that's been established in your mind. You begin to see yourself as a finisher. You begin to define yourself as a finisher. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, "Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there's no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest." One of the great challenges to finishing is going to always be complacency with partial success. Many people settle for a passing grade when their potential is to excel. Whatever you do, finish it to your full capacity, your full ability. Now, I speak over your lives today that you possess the spirit of a finisher. You will establish your life to finish. And even at the end of this year, you will see the progress you made over the last 6 months because the spirit of the finisher is upon you. I love you, and I look forward to the future that God has before you. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
We here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you for spending this time with us today. RC and Lisa are always honored to have you with us. Don't forget to reach out to us by visiting our website at www.rcblakes.com. While you're there, you may join our mailing list and receive a free download of The Laws of Manifesting Your Vision by RC Blakes. Also look at all of the online programs by RC. You may find all books written by RC and Lisa. Once again, all of us here at RC Blakes Ministries want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And as we always say, see you at the top.